What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fandoms Anonymous. We got a very special guest on today, Mr. Ron Brister, the Vice President of Events at Left Field Media. What's going on, Ron? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. I'm awesome. We're so glad to have you on here. We got an amazing event coming up in New Orleans, Louisiana, better known as Big Easy Con, and the guy that has the plan and is putting everything in motion is this gentleman we're talking to today, Ron Brister. Ron, how did you first of all get started in all of this that you're doing?
It's a funny story, and it goes back about a dozen years, to be honest. I worked in high tech for a long time and used to be involved with user conferences, which are events, but really if you worked for Microsoft or you worked for Oracle and you wanted to go out and get some training, you would go to an event or a conference. And then at one point in time, I went on a road trip. I'd gone out to Emerald City Comic-Con. I'd been to San Diego Comic-Con. Went on a road trip to San Diego. I live in Oregon. Went down to the event, and as I was getting ready to drive home, my son, who I think was about 9 or 10 at the time, asked why we didn't have a Comic-Con in Portland. So I had about 21 hours of driving to do back home. So in that 21 hours, I came up with either a harebrained idea or a solid business plan. I don't know which still. And that's how Rose City Comic-Con in Portland, Oregon was formed. And that was kind of my first venture into the pop culture side of the business. We then partnered up with Left Field Media, and we started putting on events around the country. So Big Easy is our next one. We also run one in Washington, D.C. every year called AwesomeCon. And, of course, we have Rose City in Portland, Oregon. And then we do a number of anime events also in New York, and one we just recently announced in Dallas, Texas.
That's awesome. That's what you call writing the vision plain and making it plain so that it can just come to fruition. That's an awesome story about how you got started. But what we want to talk about today is Big Easy Con. And Big Easy Con is a convention that, of course, was announced somewhere around this time last year, and it got everybody hyped and excited because it was like, hey, another convention coming to the southern states. And one thing about the southern states, we're starting to get conventions on the regular now. You can get at least 2 to 3 conventions per month throughout the year, all across the southeastern United States, from Texas to, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, of course, Alabama and Mississippi. What made you guys put Big Easy Con together? What was the thought process behind it?
Well, yeah, it's a pretty simple thought process, really. I spent about half my youth in Louisiana. My family's from Leesville, so just north of Baton Rouge. And so when I thought about places that I wanted to put on another event, anytime I talk to family or cousins or anybody down in Louisiana, they're always asking about, oh man, it'd be so cool to have a great event like what you do in DC or Portland down here. So as we got to talking and looking at the map and looking at the convention year, New Orleans kept coming up over and over and over again. One, great hotels, lots of hotels down there. It's a very popular city, obviously, for a number of reasons. And two, the convention center and all the folks in the travel bureau and the city itself have just been super fun and easy to work with. And then really, lastly, it comes down to food, right? There's not a lot of places outside of New York and San Francisco that are going to have better food than New Orleans.
You got that right, Ron. You got that right. Because anytime I come to New Orleans, I spend most of my money on eating.
Yeah.
A lot of people go to drink and party up, and I'm somewhere sitting probably at Oceana with the big bowl of jambalaya. I'm just going to keep it real.
Oh, yeah, Oceana, I know that well. I know Oceana very well.
Oh, man. When I booked our hotels for Big Easy Con for my crew, I was looking, and I came up on an amazing deal where we're literally right on Canal, but you can walk 2 blocks through the alley and hit Oceana. I'm like, yes, this is perfect. This is perfect. This is perfect. Now, all conventions have their controversies. They have their issues. They have their moments. There's not one convention that's never had and what I can call an issue, whether big or small. And earlier this year, you guys made a decision to move the convention from June to November. And if you guys stated a lot of the reasons why you did so, and I'm the type of person where I can tell when something is fishy, and I can know when something is just realistic, and this is just what had to happen. So for me, looking at it first glance was, okay, that's what you call a business move. For the culture out here, for the fans, for the comic book cons and lovers, they look at it, I know for a fact, looking over social media, they looked at it as, oh, here's another convention that comes to the South and does us wrong. But I didn't feel that way because I stopped and think. As I've gotten older, I've learned to stop and really look at what's going on. Like, for an example, you go to Burger King. Did they really forget to put extra pickles on my sandwich, or did they just mess up that day? You know, you got to be smart about it. You got to be smart about it. So how did you...
Yeah, I'll be completely transparent and honest about the whole process, and I have been this whole time. It really kind of begins and ends with me at the end of the day, right? Because I'm the guy who runs the show, and you know, I've got a team of people that work for me, and you know, we have a bunch of people we answer to, you know, above us, and at the end of the day, it really does come down to being, you know, really two things in my humble view of it. One, was the show we were about to put on in June, first and second, the show that we were going to be proud of? And the answer to that simply was no. We don't normally do 2-day events. For whatever reason, why we went into that market thinking we would do a 2-day event and it being a good idea. You know, as we got further and further down the line, we realized, you know, in order to do this right, to have the vendors come in, from out of town, you know, the people that we typically work with, you know, we wanted it to be really a profitable experience for them. And a lot of times when you think about, I mean, put yourself in a vendor's position, what we heard from them over and over again was like, hey, Ron, I really want to go and do this show, but, you know, a 2-day show, you know, I only have 66% of the time that I would normally have in order to sell and make my revenue, but I have an equal amount of travel time and setup time to get there and pack up and then go to my next event. So we heard that from a lot of our vendors. They're like, hey, we just really, you know, have drawn the line. We're only doing 3-day shows, which we were fine with. At first we thought, well, you know, that's fine. Maybe some of these vendors won't make it down there. But then we also started looking at it from a fan standpoint going, you know, if we don't have a variety of vendors, if we don't have a number of guests there across, you know, across the event, are we doing a disservice to our fans? And really what it came down to and what the major decision factor was is that we weren't going to be happy with the event we were putting in place. The second part of this, which was really kind of the perfect storm, was we had a number of guests, celebrity guests, that we had gotten booked for the event. And, you know, as it happens often in Hollywood and in this business, if somebody gets cast into a, you know, a new production, whether it be television, whether it be a movie, we are, our events are second to their primary source of income, which is what they're contractually obligated to from a production standpoint. And we had a number of guest cancellations that were starting to happen because May and June and July are prime times for people who are filming for the fall schedule, right? So if anything that's going to show on fall television is likely shooting in that May, June time period. We ran this at quite extensively with our Star Trek guests because Picard had not been announced, but it was already hitting production. There was a number of other, you know, movie stars, that kind of, you know, just in general, we were starting to find that we were having that perfect storm of too many cancellations. Is this a great show? Is this a show that we're proud of? Is this a show we want to go to? And sometimes you make tough decisions, right? And I think at the end of the day, it was a tough call. I think we labored over, should we just run a 2-day show? And if we run a 2-day show, are we coming back? Or would it be better to punt and run the show we want to run, knowing that we're going to, you know, lose some respect and we're going to have to rebuild trust with everybody. But at least we put on the show that we want to put on and stand a higher chance of doing it year over year. So at the end of the day, that's what we chose to do. 3-day show. We did move it to what I think is a much better time of the year, to be honest with you. Right after Halloween, that week of Halloween, November 1st through the 3rd, it was a great time, I think, for us to run a show down. I think the weather's going to be better. And, gives us an opportunity to bring out different guests. Now, we did want to bring in a lot of the same guests that had not, that had been with us. But, of course, we are also up against other conventions in other parts of the country, and some of these guests, Robert England, Felicia Day, and a few others, were already booked for shows the same weekend. So unfortunately, we can't get the same exact guest list back, but we do have some pretty cool guests that we're getting ready to announce. We're hopefully penciling, putting ink on paper this week for 2 more guests. I can't tell you who they are because I know you'll probably ask that next, but they are great guests. They're big time guests, and I think they've never been in that market, not that I know of.
But see, one other thing that made this perfect timing of the year so great is that November 1st is my birthday. So it's like, I knew they were thinking about me when they changed the date.
Yeah, we did check around, and I heard that it was your birthday, so we thought we'd settle in on that date.
But one of the things I want to touch on that you said was building that trust. And I have to give you guys kudos because you guys actually got into the neighborhood, you got into the city, you got to the people. And now what I'm realizing is starting to be a hub for a lot of conventions are the gaming bars, the nerd bars, the geek stores. And you guys got down there with Bad Wolf and you reached out to the people. You said, hey, come talk to us face to face. Let's hash this out. Let's get an understanding. It's better to do that than to say, we're moving the date, deal with it. But it was more of we're moving the date, come talk to us and let's talk about why. So that we have an understanding, so that you know that we're still here for you, one as a convention and one as a source of entertainment, and one, as you said, hoping to be a long-lasting, sustaining convention over the years.
Yeah, we needed to turn and face it, right? I mean, we knew that there was going to be some backlash. I know the day that we announced it, I personally called probably, I think it was 35, 40 people, vendors. We called them. We obviously offered full refunds to anybody who wanted it. We reached out a number of times to our exhibitors, made sure they were fine, understood why. One of the things that we did do, and we knew that the artist community, our makers market and our artist alley, that's really the most important part of the show as far as I'm concerned, because most of those folks aren't the traveling vendors that come from around the country, but they're usually the artisans and the creators that live in the local market. One of the things, that I felt like we needed to do to maintain that trust and to make sure that we continue to work with those folks is I gave every single one of those people who had bought a table a full refund. And we've also given them space to come to the show because at the end of the day, we really wanted to prove to them and to our fans that, we changed the dates. And I know people had made plans. And I know this is not something that, the people were particularly happy about. We weren't either. But at the end of the day, we have a very strong commitment to our artist community, our makers community, our creator community, and we extended that offer. Everybody took advantage of it, and I'm very thankful they did because I can't wait to see our artist alley is going to be several hundred tables deep. I think the biggest artist alley that hits that convention center on an annual basis compared to any other show. We're going to have some of the top-notch creators in the country there, as well as all the local creators and artisans in Artist Alley. So, you have to obviously do these things sometimes based off of what's right for the business, what's right for us as showrunners, but it doesn't mean that you can't do also what's right for the community. And in that case, we're never going to leave anybody high and dry on money, regardless if we had to cancel because of a natural disaster or anything else. I mean, we would always provide full refunds. We'd always be reaching out and talking about how to make people whole. So that's one thing that, I will always stay committed to that because that's just always been the nature of our business.
And that's the only way to be. It's not a matter of this way or that way. That's the only way to be, because then that continues to build trust and to build, that good rapport that you want to have with a convention. Whenever we sign up with a convention, we're always looking for what's the rapport that we're getting back. Are they much as excited to have us there as we are to be there as well? And when you have that back and forth, then you know you're getting into something good. Now, of course, I knew from the jump you weren't going to be able to say, hey, this guest is coming and that guest is coming.
Yeah.
But what are some other exciting things that we can look forward to this weekend in November 2019?
Yeah, we're working on some pretty fun stuff. I think, we're right now working with some local organizations and some national organizations that are putting together some pretty interesting panels, programming related to, it's Halloween time that we're going to be down there, right? So it's all about the paranormal. It's all about the history of New Orleans and how that's bled into comics and pop culture. So we got some pretty exciting things to talk about and to show off while we're down there. We have some big publishers are coming. We've got a reading program that we're working on that we'll be working on with the school district, with the public library system, with all the local book retailers down there. All of that's really geared towards getting kids to read, having come out to the show. They'll get a bunch of free stuff. We're doing scavenger hunts. We're doing lots of fun stuff besides the typical celebrity meet and greets, right? The celebrity meet and greets are great. We have some, great celebrities lined up so far. We're happy with the guest list. We have another headliner that will be announced as soon as this week, potentially, plus another couple of tentpole names that we'll be putting out there. Creator-wise, we've got a few more announcements coming up. Those creators will be some of those top creators that I talked about in the comics industry working on properties for Marvel and DC. Pretty big gaming environment. Our kids area is going to be rocking the whole weekend. We partner with the Toy Association out of New York. They are the trade association for the toy industry. So I expect that we'll see DreamWorks there. We'll probably see a number of other folks from the toy industry there doing things in that junior area. Junior has its own programming that'll run all weekend. They'll have their own stage, their own costume contest, lots of activities for, local families. And that's one of the things that I think differentiates us, Left Field Media, and the shows we run around the country is we dedicate anywhere from 20 to 30,000 square feet just to kids and kids programming and costume groups and trying to make sure we get connected to that next generation audience that is going to continue to hopefully come to our events in the future, right? Because they're building memories with mom and dad or parental units and coming out to these shows and and in the future, we want them to bring their family to our shows, right? I'm hoping I can do this another 20 years.
That's the key to success, man, is laying out the groundwork. Anytime that you lay out the groundwork, because as the phrase always goes, the kids are the future. When you lay the groundwork out for them, you never know what type of mood that you're inciting in their brains through some of the stuff that they see at conventions, whether it be cosplay, whether it be creating, whether it be art, whether it be drawing, whether it be doing photography and video. So that's awesome. That's awesome that you guys are really putting forth effort into making sure that the children have fun as well. But I'm definitely excited. We're going to have a great time, guys. Don't remember, Fandoms Anonymous, we will be there. We'll be doing our coveted What It Takes to Be a YouTuber panel at Big EasyCon that weekend. So, guys, make sure you stay tuned for that. Ron, is there anything else you want to leave with the people today?
The only thing I'd say is ticket prices are going to increase at the door. Ticket prices are going to increase in advance. If you're someone who's thinking about buying a ticket, but, look, I don't, we're a first-year show down there. I think the majority of our business will be walk-ups. Anytime we've done first-year shows in other locations, the majority of the business is walk-ups. But you can save a few bucks if you buy in advance. So make sure if you're thinking about going, if you got that weekend off from work and you want to come out and check us out, we're going to put on a great event. Buy your tickets in advance and save a few bucks and spend that money on Bourbon Street later, or spend it around the show with some of our vendors and artists in Artist Alley.
And see, that's where I'm going to be torn. It's either going to be food or Funko Pop. It's one of the two F's. It's going to have to be a decision made. It's going to have to be. the decisions made. But Ron, we really thank you for coming out and talking to us today. I hope we were able to, change the narrative about Big Easy Con and let people understand that, hey, this convention is first and foremost here for you, the people. We're totally 100% behind Big Easy Con, and like I said, we will be there all weekend. Come shout us out at the table. Come check out our panel. But most importantly, go ahead and get your tickets. Go ahead and check out everything online. You get yourselves ready. Get your costumes ready. Get your cosplays ready. Whatever you're going to do, get it prepared for Big Easy Con 2019, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in New Orleans, Louisiana at the Convention Center downtown. Ron, thank you for talking to us today. Guys, we'll see you in another video.